All right, guys. Welcome to Food News and Chews Radio. This is Chef Jeremy Ashby. I got Sylvia Lovely with me. And Twitch has been called back in the kitchen to do dishes. So it's going to be us today, Sylvia.
I know. I'm loving it.
Nice.
I'm loving it. Yeah, we're going to have a great show.
Yeah, I think so. You know, we were kind of discussing together just, I don't know, the ways people have diversified in the restaurant industry.
Don't you think the pandemic really was a game changer for restaurants?
Yeah, we had to shut down operations, and I don't know if you guys did it. I mean, I think the restaurant industry got a lot of prominence in the news during the pandemic because we were...
Actually, somebody said that Americans will do without anything except two things, toilet paper and restaurants.
Correct. Like we...
Remember the toilet paper wars?
Right. I mean, our citizens stood up for our restaurants.
They did. And we found out we were loved. But, you know, finding out you're loved, it also creates a huge responsibility.
It does.
So after it was over and it's sort of ending here, you know, now what? You know, you had to draw people back in. Right. They were used to coming and doing takeout, right?
Yeah.
And you had to figure out ways to really reboot.
Money. Right. You know, and you know, I think in the world we live in now, you know, something like selling your food in a different city or selling a sauce you make in a different city, that didn't happen in the past, but we it's a world market now. We have online websites you can buy products. So, I mean, I think a lot of people diversified. Around here in this region, everybody has a beer cheese on the shelf, right?
Well, that's maybe, other than sauces, that may be the most prominent product.
Yeah, it's like Kentucky's national bird.
How many different kind of beer cheeses can you have, Chef? I mean,
as many as you can imagine. You know,
yeah, they can have anything in them, right?
They can. You know, and I think the I don't know, and this is something I should have researched before I started talking about beer cheese, but I've always kind of wondered it. There might not be a definite answer. Was beer cheese made with a beer in it, or was it made with beer drinking in mind?
Oh,
because I don't know if it's necessary to put beer in the beer cheese.
Okay.
I think it's having a spicy cheese spread to be eaten during happy hours and, you know, kind of.
It's kind of an easy thing to do. It gets you away from just hard cheddar or something like that. It's a spreadable thing.
Right. Typically they're
really
pureed.
Easy and pureed and kind of in a little tub, so it's easy to get to. But I know, you know, our guest that's coming up, Dad's favorites.
Yes.
That's how he started out, was cheese sauces. I don't know if he calls them all beer cheese. Exactly what?
So yeah, that's one thing I think that makes his brand, unique. Is, you know, in this region we have all these beer cheeses, but his, I think, are more like cheese spreads. And is beer cheese a cheese spread? Yes, but a cheese spread could be like pimento cheese, or, you know, I know he does all kinds of different ones, jalapeno, and he's going to tell us all about his flavors. But they're all delicious. You can find them in grocery stores. But, you know, that seems to be kind of a new pathway for restaurants. Have you seen some of those websites, Goldbelly or whatever? You can literally order, say, a steak from New York City and have it delivered.
I know.
Or frozen Chicago deep dish pizzas.
It's amazing what's happened in technology.
Yeah.
You know, has done that. But, you know, another product that's interesting to me, probably rivaling beer cheese, is sauces.
Right.
And I guess it's a lot of restaurants are marketing their sauces that they use, and that's closely akin to beer cheese. But, you know, it's like, and a lot of them are liquor infused.
Right.
Bourbon.
You know, I think that's how they get out of this region, is to appeal, you know, if something's from Kentucky, it's
like
got
barbecue,
bourbon in it.
Bourbon, Maker's Mark barbecue sauce or something.
There's
like
something
that.
sexy when you say bourbon barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
You know, and do you really taste a lot of bourbon in those? You know, it's there's a hint of something, right?
But it's that, or smoked or something like that. That, you know, But sauces, I think, are one of the most prevalent and popular things.
Yep, barbecue sauce, all the sauces, all the spice rubs, all the cheese spreads. Those are you know, kind of big deal items to do. And, you know, taking some of these from, you know, what do you want to say, development all the way to a grocery shelf is a big process. You know, we're trying it, you know, at our restaurant, Sylvia. We have
that's what you've been telling me.
the red chili honey sauce.
Honey's another one.
Yeah,
that,
which
is local.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'll use kind of the local thing. But, you know, out of the pandemic, I think, you know, that it became harder to operate restaurants. And then on the heels of that was inflation.
Yes.
And they say that, developing these products is a way to expand your marketplace.
Totally.
Because they say, and I don't know if you agree with this, that people are actually eating out less. I haven't seen that yet. It seems like to me people are eating out more, but generally that's what they're saying, is that
Really?
people are eating out less. And so the marketplace expands.
At home.
Yeah, expands that. So and it's interesting because people can take your restaurant home,
Right.
and it expands your brand.
Now, see, I think that's, and let's go down in your report. Do you think people are eating out in restaurants less, but they're eating food from restaurants,
Yeah,
but at
they're
their
taking
house?
it out.
But they're at
Eating out is the statistics that I was reading.
Wow.
They're eating out less, which I don't know. You couldn't quite tell me that. Seems like restaurant parking lots. Some
Right.
are filled. Now, maybe those are the ones that are doing well in understanding the new marketplace. The new marketplace includes like labor issues,
big time.
employee issues. People will leave you for a dime more. I mean, it's gotten that tough.
Yeah, and I think a brand or a sauce or a spice rub or something that you produce that's a flavor of your restaurant is a good way to have income going 24 hours a day. Your restaurant's
all right.
open 12 hours a day. Your staff has to sleep. We all do, but this is just a whole other revenue stream that's
Do you
still.
think that was? I know for a long time, because like when I went to Dad's, and we're having Dad on today,
Yeah.
on the show. Everybody has the T-shirts, the Dad's T-shirts, and they're selling those retail, in stores. Is the sauce and the beer cheese kind of an offshoot of that marketplace? Because that's been around for a while. You can get T-shirts and such as Hard Rock Cafe kind of stuff, where they sell actual products, not just food related.
Yeah, I've always thought that if you have, a business and a brand that people will buy your garb and advertise your place for you,
it's
then
advertising.
Then I call that a tribe. I'd call that you've got loyal followers that
Yeah.
love you, and that's just an amazing way to keep to generating too. So.
Yeah. The other piece of products, and this happens with the big companies too, like Kraft mac and cheese ice cream, brand. I mean, could you imagine? I was reading that. I was like, what? How do you? Or adult Happy Meals. That's a McDonald's marketing maneuver.
What exactly is that? Is it kind of like a beer or something? Or a glass of wine? McWine?
I think it's just a bigger version of a Happy Meal, and the idea is nostalgia.
Do you get a little
Bringing people
toy?
back. Just bringing people back to an earlier, easier time because we live in such crazy times, And then what you're doing is you're trying to create an experience for people. That's the big deal now.
I like it. I'm glad you brought that up because I think those are the restaurants that are going to succeed, Sylvia. Is the one, it used to, you have good food, you have good service. Then you'd be full
Yeah.
and successful. I mean, there's
It's
a
not
million
that-
more things than that.
But it's not.
not that easy. But now, I mean, it's almost like you have to have the full experience. You want to have the guests to kind of captivate them for a couple hours and entertain them.
That's one experience.
I think
in addition to good food.
one of the new players in town and a big one, Jeff Ruby. I
Yeah.
think he kind of understood that years ago that this is culinary entertainment.
Yes,
like that's
I love it.
We
I
are
love that.
putting on a show. Watch our show and enjoy it because
Yeah.
it's magical to me. I love the orchestra and the ballerinas that run around in a restaurant when things are well composed. If you know what I mean.
Oh, that's right. And another interesting thing is products that are trying to get in other products. That like mayonnaise, using mayonnaise
Right.
instead of eggs in eggnog. It's made the news. It's all over the news.
What?
And that sells more mayonnaise, right?
It does. So
Yeah.
so like these TikTok, Instagram
Yeah.
kind of like ideas
Yeah.
are having big
Substituting
impact.
stuff. Or the mayonnaise company is the one that's promoting this one so that they can sell more mayonnaise.
How brilliant.
So,
'Cause just when you
I don't
think
know,
you-
Chef, maybe you could put your fried chicken in something
Ice cream.
on an ice cream, bourbon fried chicken ice cream, or pizza or something.
So you say that, Sylvia, but remember I used to have a country ham fried ice cream on the menu.
Oh, I've forgotten about that. I had forgotten.
I'm
It's that
surprised you guys
salty and sugar.
Let me
and-
get away with that, but yeah, it was fun. For a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah, salty and sugar. So don't you have a recipe for something kind of
Well,
yummy?
yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about pimento cheese because, all right, I've got some beer cheese recipes and there's pimento cheese, and I think people don't know the difference, right? So I think in beer cheese, you're going to be pureeing it into more of a spread or a puree, whereas pimento cheese is kind of a classic one, Southern caviar, we might call it, right? Where you're
It's a
using
little
just
lumpy. I mean,
yeah,
it's
exactly. And I
supposed to
think
be.
it's all about the texture in pimento cheese.
Yeah.
In fact, the best ones I have, they do different things with how they grate the cheese. It's not that they use different cheese or a better cheese than you. They might use a different blend of cheeses, which is always fun. But I think just a good old classic one, when you're making this at home, is try taking a block of cheese and grating it yourself. Okay?
Okay. And,
and-
what value does that?
It changes the texture. You know, if you open a bag of shredded cheese, it kind of has this waxy powder on each little grain of shredded cheese. And I think there's something to that. I really do think it doesn't taste as fresh and it doesn't mix as well.
Interesting.
It's kind of like it's got a powder coating on it and the stuff doesn't kind of meld well,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So let's skip that part and get that block of cheddar cheese, mild or sharp. It doesn't matter to me. If you want white, if you want Munster, whatever. I use just good old classic cheddar for pimento cheese. And the ingredients that I add to it are just a little roasted red pepper pimentos, some mayonnaise, some sugar, and a little
Just kind of
salt
to
and pepper,
taste-
and
to
you
taste.
fold that in together, right? And I think black pepper is important in pimento cheese.
More important than I think we ever thought.
Right, and you got to balance that with the salt. And this is a texture thing. The best texture I have ever had is when you take your cheese and you run it through the meat grinder on your KitchenAid little mixer. Now, I just gave you a secret that I don't share a whole lot. So if you guys heard that out there, try it sometime and tell me I'm wrong. Now, if you wanted to turn this pimento cheese into a more like a spread, like Dad might do, or a beer cheese style, you can always kind of fold in some cream cheese to this, right? Or kind of puree it in a Roboku. I would suggest, or a food processor. I would suggest folding in the peppers at the end after that. Or it's just going to be a kind of a red-looking cheese thing. But anyway, that's how I use it. I've got 1,000 variations. I just want you guys to try it at home with a block of cheddar, a little bit of mayonnaise, a little bit of sugar, a little
kinda
bit
to
of
taste,
black
yeah.
pepper, and just a taste. And just mix it up yourself and get that texture of that weird meat grinder. I'm telling you, it's good.
I wonder how Winchester got the name of the beer capital of the world. They have a festival.
The beer cheese capital?
Yeah.
Have you been to that?
No.
I have never. You would have no idea there were so many.
Yeah, I guess all these variations, and it must be not easy to make, but it's one of the kind of go-tos because you can always get cheese and all those other kinds of items that you can put in it, and everybody's like pizza.
Right, and
Everybody's trying to one up each other on pizza.
And it's not highly perishable. It's something you can make and it can last for a little while. Instead of restaurants. That's another thing about having a restaurant versus a retail product is perishability. You can't really can the food at a restaurant and sit it on a shelf, whereas
Right.
some of these products you can. And kind
Is this is that recipe how you make your fritters? Because those are so good.
They are. So I gave you the secret to our pimento cheese fritters
So
at
good.
Azure. Now, the ones we use at Azure, I fold in the cream cheese. So I make it just how I
Oh,
told
yeah.
you, but fold
Okay.
in the cream cheese because that makes it hold together when you do the flour, egg wash,
And then
panko breading, and fry them.
then fry them
And
up.
you've got a, if you know what I mean, you got basically a crispy, fried, gooey, hot pimento cheese ball.
Yeah.
We serve that with bourbon peach chutney.
Now, another thing that restaurants are doing, and let's get back to that because we talked about it briefly, experiences.
Yeah.
And one of the things is events. And you do a lot of events. And I know that there's one that you do in particular at around Christmas time.
That's right. So
7 fishes.
yeah, I'm
Have
gonna
you
have to.
chosen your fishes?
I have chosen my fishes. So the Feast of Seven Fishes is probably my favorite dinner to do of the year. And what it is like basically the midnight celebration for the birth of Jesus. And Italians, they skip all meats. And what they do is they eat fish. I guess that's how they
Yeah.
fast is instead of eating meat, they eat fish. So we're going to be doing our Feast of Seven Fishes on December 22nd at Azure. We serve this family style. We have a big long table we try to seat everybody at. You might be sitting next to a stranger. Well, you'll be with your people, but
Yeah, but
you're
you
left
might
or
get
right,
to know
you
somebody
might be,
new. Yeah.
next to somebody new, and that's cool because this is about
And that's what
Christmas
people
and
say about it because you've had it, I don't know how many years now, but
7
that's what
or
they
8
say.
now,
They
yeah.
meet
We're
new
getting up
people.
there.
It's great.
So this is served family style. And what I mean by that is we're sitting at this big table. We've got good Italian wines out, and we're getting ready. And then we have just platters of things that just start coming out. And we serve it family style, like fried calamari with chickpeas and roasted tomatoes and golden raisins and toasted pine nuts and roasted red peppers. That's the first course. Then we go with an Asiago arancini, which is kind of a cheesy fried risotto ball with a marsala and snow crab cream sauce on it. Then we go into garlic and shrimp mussel salad with celery and mint and lemon and olive oil and farro. Then we do linguine a vongole, which is basically your linguine with clam sauce. I always do that one for the feast because I love linguine with clams, with white wine and garlic and olive oil and parsley. Then I'm doing seared scallops with Parmesan polenta and brown butter and sage. We got some roasted halibut with olives and capers and marinara sauce and white wine and rosemary. And we're going to finish it off with chocolate hazelnut panna cotta, kind of like Nutella flavor, really, and a little cranberry orange almond biscotti. But that was Thursday, December 22nd at 7 p.m. Call 859-296-1007 for reservations. This one fills
goes
up
fast.
super quick, guys. We do secure this one with a credit card. That's just because the high cost for bringing and flying in 7 different fishes.
Oh, yeah.
But, if something comes up, we totally understand.
Oh, yeah. Well, that sounds great. And I can't wait to hear from the man, the deli man.
Yes, talking about differentiating yourself amongst all the beer cheeses, this man figured it out. James Cottle from Dad's Deli. Dad, that's how
In the
we
Garden
call
Springs
him.
Shopping
Garden
Center.
Springs Shopping Center has kind of, solved the case on how to develop
Amazing
a product
story.
and get it in stores, and they are incredible. You guys check this out in the second half, and thanks for tuning in to Food News and Chews. Welcome back to Food News and Chews, guys. This is Chef Jeremy Ashby. We got Sylvia Lovely and our guest for the day.
I'm so
I
excited.
got Dad with me, man.
Dad.
Lexington's own Dad.
Dad's got our back.
James Cottle's here, and I just want to kind of back up. If you don't know this man, you don't know Dad's favorite deli, then we need to start at the beginning.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
So-
He's magnificent. Let me tell my story how I met him.
Yeah.
My son and I went there. My son suggested it one day. It was a gorgeous day. Remember, it was about 60
Yeah,
degrees
it was
in
nice.
November or something. And so we went over there, and they were lined up. And
Yeah.
it's in the Garden Springs Shopping Center
Yep.
by Big Lots and all that stuff. And there was a line all the way down. And, he had said, well, it might be really busy, Mom, and all this kind of stuff. But we stayed the course, and you came out and greeted everybody.
Right.
And that's when we got to know you. And then it was so full, we had to go out and sit in lawn chairs in back of my son's
You
car.
tailgated Dad.
I did, and you delivered our food. I love it.
So this is a phenomenon. Some cities and not many big cities. Like New York City, Chicago. They've got sandwich shops that have lines out the door at lunchtime. This is the one in Lexington. This is the one that
is.
everybody treasures. And I'm going to tell you right now, you have the most uniquely put together sandwiches.
Thank you.
And what I mean by that is, as a chef, I really respect. Sandwiches aren't something that I have in my head, Sylvia. When
Right.
I do a lunch sandwich or something at the diner or at Azure, I compose it, but it's not something that I have a lot of experience with, and I don't eat a lot. And when I make them, I'll try them out. And the composition of a sandwich to have just the right amount of bread versus the right amount of meat, and putting the sauce on the top bun or bottom bun and composing it with the right cheese, there's a little bit of an art to this, guys, because you might come up with a sandwich in your head and it sounds great, but it's clunky. It doesn't taste
Yeah,
right, and it
come
doesn't come together right. You have the most put together,
Oh, yeah.
intentional
Yeah.
sandwiches I've ever had.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
How'd you get into this business?
Well, we were making a cheese spreads. It all goes back to the cheese spreads, and we were taking it to parties, and everybody said you got to get this on the market. Well, I was in the insurance business at the time, and things were kind of slowing up because Obamacare came out, and a lot of my business was going to the side. So my older son had enlisted with the National Guard and was immediately shipped to Baghdad.
Whoa.
So he was on a 3-man Humvee team. He was an MP in the National Guard, and all they were was escorts. And he was on a 3-man Humvee team. He was first one out, last one back.
Wow.
So it kind of kept my mind off of that.
Yeah.
And so next thing you know, we got them in Liquor Barn, our
Wow.
cheese spreads. And I said, hold on. And so we started making them, and I rented a kitchen from a caterer friend of ours. And the next thing you know, we got too much going on for that to have to rent the kitchen. And so we started making it in my basement. I had
Okay.
a guy that came, state guy that came in,
Inspected it.
inspected
Set
it,
it
said
up,
you
yeah.
need a 3-compartment here, you need a
Yeah.
hand sink
Yeah.
there, and you need this and that. And
A little bit to it, right?
We need,
Yeah.
a little corner is all we needed. We didn't need a big restaurant. So next thing you know, we're in the farmer's market and selling our cheese spreads. And every week we'd go down there, they would sell out. And I'm going, what? So we'd take a little more and we'd sell out. We'd take a little more, we'd
My
sell out. And I'm
goodness.
going, okay, now
Good
hold
Lord.
on. So
Somebody's knocking on your door with some kind of an
exactly.
idea here.
So I took them to
This
Kroger's.
never happens to me.
Well, I will tell you, I wish I was this smart, but I'm not. This is coming from a higher power because you can't have a deli in an
Yeah.
old 1962 shopping center and
I
do
know.
what we're doing.
I know.
You know what?
I can't make
You're
that
right.
up.
I'm with you on that, man.
So-
You have absolute. There's something divine going on in your shop and your brand.
There really is. And so we started with this cheese spreads, and I got them in Kroger's. Well, my older son got back from Baghdad. My younger son graduated UK in accounting, but until he goes back and gets his master's or goes to work for a CPA, he couldn't sit for the test. And he went into engineering first, and then he went into accounting. He goes, Dad, I really don't want to be an accountant. So now I
Three
said,
of you?
I've got him in Kroger's.
yeah.
We got 3 cheese spreads in Kroger's. So we started delivering direct store delivery, which is really tough. And we were able to hang on. And so my sons got back, and I said, we can't make it in my basement. So we got the Garden Springs because of the rent and because it was out of the way. We didn't care.
Yeah.
We were making cheese spreads. And Martha.
So at first it was just cheese spreads.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're there in 2009. Martha Fain and the barber would come over and, wanted to be nosy and see what we were doing. I said, well, we're making these cheese spreads. And
Yeah.
so they saw that and they said, well, what are you going to do with this front part? Because it was divided off like this, And I said, well, paper up the windows, use it for storage. And they go, we got a good business going on in here. And I took a look in the hallway and there's nobody there. And I'm going, I don't know. And they said,
Yeah.
why don't you do a soup and sandwich? We eat out every day. So my sons and I got together and we started thinking, we're here. Let's
Yeah.
set one table out
Yeah.
front.
Right.
Came up with a simple menu. We've got
Out of the spreads, right?
6 different cheese spreads.
Yeah.
I got 6 different sandwiches. We did like you said. We
thought
made it
them
the
out.
way we like it.
Yeah.
And different cheese, different bread, different meat. Any of those cheeses could be on the veggie. Any of them can be on the grilled cheese. And then we started coming up with a special. But we set one table out there, and there's about 8 pictures on the top in our deli of those people that still come in that were there
They
in the
were
first.
there.
The very
Wow.
And so
That's amazing, and then all of a sudden
It
there's
just
not
took
a
off. It's
lot
word
out
of
there.
mouth.
Yeah, and people are now showing up. In
Well, we tell 'em,
lines.
bring
and
a
more
friend.
tables.
Yeah, bring a friend, tell a friend, and next time you come, who all's here? All your friends.
Yeah, so these spreads, you can get them in the stores, guys. You got to try them out. I mean, the sandwiches, go to the shop and try them. And tell us about kind of what you brought us today and how this works with Instagram. You guys will do specials because
Yeah.
you explained you can do whatever cheese spread with the meat and kind of design
Right.
it yourself.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
tell what do you got for us? What are you showing off?
the 3 cheese spreads that we have in Kroger's are the smoky pimento,
Yeah.
our Asiago sun-dried tomato, garlic, and herb.
Oh,
and
man.
It's really good. And then my favorite is the pepper jack.
Nice.
But what I brought you all today is Thursday, and our special is the Reuben, the Rachel, or the Rushmore. We sold out the Reuben, so I brought you the Rachel, and I brought you the Rushmore.
Let's have a look.
So,
yeah. Now tell us about the Rushmore too.
so the
Don't
Rachel is
forget.
like the
Okay,
the
let's start
Reuben,
with that one.
except it has. There's one of each on there.
Oh, boy.
And
Look at
I'm going to tell you
this.
about the Rachel is in the foil there first on top. What that is, it's a seeded sourdough rye with
Oh,
our
man.
Swiss cheese melted on it. Because our cheeses are all cheese and no processed cheese, it melts and stays on the toasted bread.
Oh, wow.
We think it gives it more flavor. So the Rachel, instead of the corned beef, you get smoked turkey. And instead of the sauerkraut, we make a honey lime coleslaw. And the coleslaw, to me, is not real
Holy
good by
moly.
itself. But when you put it together. Sorry, Jeremy, I didn't bring any napkins.
Yeah, you did.
And
No, I did. Well, my guys took care of
it doesn't matter because he'll just slurp his lips.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, that is to me, that's a sleeper sandwich. It's got a lot of flavor going on.
Yeah.
And to me, the coleslaw makes it.
That's so good.
Yeah, no, there's just, you guys are truly talented because there's intention in every bite of your sandwiches and your spreads. Just an amazing
It is
product.
So good.
Well, thank you. We're just. I come from a long line of cooks, I'll say, and I'm just a cook, and my sons have fallen in behind us, just ready to go.
So we were talking in the first half, kind of how over, the past few years, restaurants have diversified, in terms of products. How does this whole, if we got people out there that have products, that have dreams like you, what's the process for getting something to market?
Well, you better be passionate about it because it's not easy.
Not easy.
And you got to be persistent. I mean, I must have
to get in
called
Kroger's.
I called
that's
on
huge.
them probably 20, 30 times, and I would take them samples every time, and I would bug them to death.
Would you go locally, or would you have to
locally.
go
And then
locally?
finally
Okay.
they said, all right, I sent it to my buyer in Louisville, and they want to talk to you. Finally. So I go and sit and talk for a minute, and I said, well, he goes, well, we'll be in touch. And so I said, well, I want your marketplace stores in Lexington, the two marketplace, the Richmond Road location, the Beaumont. Remind me to tell you about that.
I'm
one.
going to.
And I said, just the two stores. They said, okay. So I go home. Next thing you know, I get an email. Says which stores you want.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, hold on. So I called. The fellow's name was Jeremy. I called him and I said, what's going on? He goes, yeah, which stores you want? And I said, well, I'll take this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. I named off the ones I wanted in
Wow.
Lexington. And I said, what's your top 5 in Louisville? He told me, and I said, I'll take those 5 too.
Wow.
So you overnight.
He
you
goes,
had
well,
to,
when can you start delivering?
what
Oh,
did you
wow.
say?
I said, how about the first of the week?
Yeah.
So you
'cause
were
it
able
was-
to ramp up that fast.
Well, it was my sons were already back, and here we go. I said, all right, boys, here we go.
Dog that caught the car. Right.
And then what do you do?
Yeah, so tell in terms of that, I guess what Kroger's, that's a lot of stores, right? And you think
Right.
about this region, how much work is that? I mean, are they buying every week?
Well, here lately, they send us a PO, which is a purchase order, and we have a 21-day lead time. That gives us time to get the cheese and the packaging and
Yeah.
everything to make sure we have it all in stock. And then we take it. They wanted me to expand, and I said, look, I don't want to be in the trucking business. I don't want to be in the employment business. If you want me to
Smart.
do it, I'll deliver it to the warehouse. Otherwise, no, thank you. And I'm going to dial it back a little bit because it's a lot of. He's running a milk route every day, every week. And they said, oh, we don't have room. Well, about a week later, I got a PO that here you go, come to the warehouse.
Come to the warehouse.
So
Wow.
then it was such a large PO that I couldn't make it in my facility there at Garden Springs. So we rented a facility in Louisville. My son drove up there and back, took some of our equipment with him,
Yeah.
and we made it there. And they had the refrigeration that can handle it and the trucks that could take it over there. So
Good
here we are.
heavens, that is divine.
This is just a dream come true. I love
know.
hearing stuff like this where,
Was there ever any moment of doubt? In
well,
any of this?
you try never doubt yourself, but it's like military. You adapt and you
Yeah.
overcome.
Yeah,
Whatever
yeah.
the situation is, okay,
You
how are we
gotta
going to
figure
do
it
this?
out.
Let's get a plan.
Yeah, and sometimes it's survival,
And
in
it
the
is.
military, and you
And
got to
as well,
figure it out.
let's make it.
Yeah.
Let's get it done.
Now tell about the other sandwiches because I want to get to that veggie.
All right.
you
Well, this one
know.
here, the next one,
Mm-hmm.
is life changing. This is the Rushmore. It's the
Rushmore.
number 5's big brother. The number 5 is a ciabatta bun, chipotle cheddar cheese, sliced roast beef, our signature sauce, spicy ranch, and a cup of au jus. So it's like a French dip.
wow.
Well, this one we made for President's Day about 3 years ago, and we called it the Mount Rushmore. My
Okay.
younger son came in and said, Dad, I had a dream about a sandwich. We all went, oh, no,
Uh-oh.
not this. Not like this. So he made it for us, and we all turned around and looked, and everybody was looking at him, everybody in the shop going, wow,
What did
this
you
is
do?
this is a hit.
You went and did something right there. Huh?
And so this is the same sandwich, ciabatta bun, sliced roast beef, chipotle cheddar cheese on top of that bun, toasted bun, the roast beef, and then instead of those two sauces in the au jus, it gets sweet barbecue sauce, 2 strips of bacon, fried onion straws, a little more barbecue sauce to hold the straws down, and a creamy beer cheese dipping sauce that's in there.
I see it right here, and I'm going for the
Now,
dip,
the
guys.
best thing to do, I will tell you this: take a bite of the sandwich first.
Okay.
Savor all the flavors.
We're doing it.
You get the sweetness of the barbecue, the salt from the bacon. You taste the roast beef. You get the crunch from the straws. But then all of a sudden, you hit a plateau. You go, wow, that's really good. Well, then you dip it in the sauce,
All right, here we go.
and it takes it to another level. It's life changing.
Oh, Chef, what do you think? Can you get up off the floor? I love it. What's the magic
Oh,
to
my
a
gosh.
sandwich?
Well, you got to have the right, like Chef Jeremy was saying, you got to have the right combination. And we've made some real stinkers, but we'll try it, and everybody's going, nah, that's just not it.
Right.
And then we might serve it one day, and everybody comes back and says, yeah, you've done a better job. Or we serve it to some of the guys that come in all the time. We don't just, what do you think about
right,
this?
Right, it's got like a
And
focus
we
group,
just,
but they
you know,
know you. Yeah.
But that one,
You know,
so now we'll tell you, it was the Mount Rushmore. The students have found it. We only do it on Thursdays and Fridays.
Nice.
They know it's only done on those days. It's just the Rushmore.
The rush.
That's all it's called now.
I got my mouth full of it. But, Sylvia, what's so great is I
No.
can taste each component.
Yeah, and you must be
Usually
a super
when you put
taster
that-
to kind of know
Yeah, well,
that.
my son can smell it and tell you what it needs.
Really. That is.
But when I taste it, I'd say, well, it needs some more of this, or it needs a little more of that. And he's the same way with his spices.
Well, I
just
appreciate
really
that.
gifted at that, yeah.
There's balance because, Sylvia, like me, no matter what it is, just because I've tasted so many things, I think some people may have more of a savory palate.
Yeah.
Some people like just
some people
spice.
do.
You're right,
Yeah.
But for me, it's like I like the sweet, salty, spicy, sour, umami all
Yeah.
together
and
kind
the
of thing
bread
that wins for
matters
me.
and all of that stuff. Yeah,
Right.
all that.
And these
matters.
guys kind of construct sandwiches
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
cook. So
and by the way,
it's
we
got
should
all.
remind our listeners that we're talking to Jim Cottle, Dad, who is Dad.
Dad's favorites.
Yeah, he's our guy. Yeah.
That's right. So, guys,
that's great.
that kind of wraps up the show for this week. Get out to Dad's Deli. Check out some of these spreads. Check out some of these sandwiches. Dad, it was great to have you back on. James Cottle,
Thank you.
Yeah.
thanks for coming on Food News and Chews. We'll see you next week, guys.